Welcome to the Flight of the Past podcast, the programme where we talk to the pilots, the ground exhibitors and members of the local community about the Oxfordshire Family Fun Day. This programme is a Focus Biz podcast on behalf of Flight of the Past Limited, introduced by Adrian Moss.
Guys, where did you fly in from today?
We came in from Duxford, where the aeroplane's based. Yesterday we were in Belgium with a gathering of 5 T28s together. First time in Europe that's happened. That was pretty exciting stuff for us.
In terms of the T28, what's its history?
Well, this particular one started life as an A model. That is the same airframe but a much smaller engine. Built actually in 1952 to an order from the US Air Force placed in 51, and it was an intermediate trainer for the then jets that were coming into service. It was deliberately underpowered, and it wasn't much of a performer. It did the job superbly, but the American Air Force found it was a bit expensive to run, so they parked them all in the desert and went and bought Beech T-34 Mentors instead. And then the US Navy wanted a replacement for Harvard's, and they tried the A model and found it sadly lacking in power, so they said, could we put a bigger engine in it? And North American Aviation, who built them, said, yeah, we'd love to. So they put this big Wright 1820 of 1425 horsepower. Then into the melee came the French, who were fighting a nasty colonial war in Algeria and using T6s in the ground attack mode, and they were very slow, incredibly noisy, didn't carry much of a load, and were getting shot down by the shed load. So they went to America to look for a replacement, saw B models, which is roughly like this, being made, and said, could they have some? And the Americans said, sorry, we're all committed to the US Navy, but they said, we've got some other ones stored in the desert that you could modify, and that's what they did. They bought 145 A models initially, and got Pacific Air Motive, did the modification drawings, and they put them on an aircraft carrier, took them to Saint-Nazaire in France, and modified them into ground attack. So this was the first armoured T-28, and they sent 100 to Algeria, and the war stopped in 3 months. That's how effective these things were. There were 5 squadrons down in Algeria. They put 2 airplanes up every morning at 5:30, and any of the locals who popped out for a good morning got hit, and so they didn't like it and sued for peace. And then the French, by then they'd crashed a couple. They bought another couple more, and they said, what do we do with them? And they didn't really know what to do with them, so they put a lot of them in store. They used some for liaison, and then they started to sell them off. And this particular one was one of the last to be sold, and was bought by an American company who sold it to the Haitian Air Force. What they wanted with them, I have no idea, because they put an even bigger pair of guns under each wing. I'm not sure what they used it for. And then it came back to America and was civilianized, and this is the one you see it today. It's got 2 hard points under each wing, and when the Americans saw what the French had done, they said, hey, that's a good idea, because Vietnam was just starting, so they made an armoured T-28 and sent about 450 to Vietnam. The D5 was the same as this with 4 hard points, and the D10 had 6. The D10, it was a bit loaded, and the wings started to fall off in the end, so they discontinued that and then replaced them with Sky Raiders. But a very effective ground attack airplane.
And in terms of what she's like to fly?
Oh, delight. There's one very interesting feature on this aeroplane where you can actually change the force of the controls, the resistance. So the aeroplane could be used for training of any different type it was going on to. We've got ours in the mid-range. It's very responsive in both elevator and roll. It's a delight to fly, it really is. It's very stable with the dihedral you see here. It's a very stable aeroplane, so it was an ideal trainer and ground attack aeroplane. So.
In terms of how you both got into flying, what's your backgrounds?
I was always a keen lad at school, but couldn't afford to do anything but a few hours of PPL. And after a few years' career in civil engineering, which my careers master guided me towards, I was still frustrated and subsequently joined the Air Force. Had a wonderful 8 years there. flying maritime, mainly Shackletons and Nimrods, and then subsequently left the Air Force. I had a bit of time flying at Gatwick, Heralds with BIA and Comets with Dan Air, which was fun. And then went on to Cathay Pacific, where I flew 707s, 747s, 200s and 400s, and that's when I met Martin. And we got in both coming to the ends of our professional flying careers. We're looking for other excitement, and that's how we got interested in this aeroplane.
And you, Martin?
Broadly the same, Andrew. I've always been a total aviation nut since I was about that big. And I left school at 17 and went straight into the Air Force. And managed to pass and survive. Flew that one over there as one of them, that Jet Provost. And I did 16 years in the Air Force. I flew operationally, I flew Argosies and ended up on VC-10s, which was a lovely job. And left in 1977, and I went straight out to Cathay, and Ray and I both met each other on the same aeroplane going out to Hong Kong. I'm with Cathay, 707s, 74s, then I got a command on the TriStar, did that for 3 years and went back on the 747, 2, 3 and 400s, ended up on the 400 for the last 10 years. Wonderful airplanes, and had a thoroughly good time. And then I had bought a Pembroke, an XRAF machine, just by luck really. That was a wonderful aeroplane, but then the CA restricted the number of people I could put into it. It was a passenger airplane, and suddenly they said no more passengers, and that's, I got fed up, and I looked around for another aeroplane to fly, and I remembered T28s from my youth, and there were quite a few of them in the States, because it's a two-seater. So I thought, yeah, that'd be a good thing to do. So managed to get this one, find this one in the States, and then another 3 of my mates came on board, and there's 4 of us, and we're called Radio Revelation. Radial engine, RR, could be Rolls-Royce, couldn't it? Radio Revelation is the company, and we had the Pembroke, this, and a Beech 18. We sold the Pembroke. Andrew Dixon wanted to buy
Molly
it.
Joy,
no
lovely to both see
so
you
we've
here today
got
at Fly
this
to the Past.
and a Beech
Tell us
18,
about your
which is a jolly
experiences in
nice,
the Air Transport
lovely old,
Auxiliary
tail
in the
dragging
war.
twin engine machine. And we just do air shows.
This programme
and,
was a focused
air-to-air
podcast
photography
on behalf
we
of
can do
Fly
for
to the
people.
Past Limited.
And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
This programme was a Focus Biz podcast on behalf of Fly to the Past Limited.